Hello, you beautiful humans, and let's make today a good day. Let's all stay COVID safe and make these masks. You will need a sewing machine, scissors, material which includes interfacing and thin fabric, and elastic, while making sure that the interfacing does not have plastic or any sticky on any side of it. In order to make the template for your mask, you will need a 28cm plate, and that is in length. Then you'll need to fold the paper in half and then in half again, which will make it a quarter of the plate. This is when we start to do the measurements. Making sure that this distance is 4 centimeters and that this distance is 8 centimeters. By doing this, you can use a ruler. Then all that's left to do is cut along this edge and along the bottom, but do not cut along the fold. Now you should have a pattern that looks somewhat like this, and you can pin it to your material and cut it out. So we can begin. After the material has been cut correctly, you will need to pin two pieces together to make sure that they don't slide or move while stitching. As you are sewing, make sure when you start that you go backwards and forwards again, because the interfacing can rip if you do not do this. With saying that, you will only need to go back and forth with 3 stitches. This is just my recommended distance between the stitching and the end of the material. After I've completed the interfacing, I will start on the material that I want my mask to be in. This is exactly the same as doing the interfacing. You do the exact same thing, but with this you need to make sure that if your material is like mine, you put the white on the outside and the coloured on the inside, because if you do not do this, your mask will be back to front and the colour will be on the inside, not on the outside. Now in this clip I'm just cutting on the edges, so one there, and one there, and this will just allow a bit more stretch in the material when you are folding it and sewing it over. But make sure while you're doing this you do not cut the stitching, because you are going to have to redo your whole mask if you do this. So make sure you do not cut too close, they're only tiny slits. You will also make the 3 slits in the interfacing as well. So now that you have 2 sets of material and 1 set of the interfacing, you are able to assemble your mask. Assembling your mask, you must make sure that I use this method as down, down, up. So you're putting the seam down of interfacing is the bottom layer. The second layer should be your material, and that will also have the seam facing down, and your material, the color should be facing up. And for this one, the seam should be facing up and your material should be facing inwards. This is how you're going to make the mask. Now this is very important, because if you do not do this properly, your mask is going to be back to front and you're going to stitch it all together and it's going to be a waste of time. So make sure that you take time in doing this part. Now that I've pinned it, I'm just showing that this seam is facing towards the window and the seam on the inside is also going to be facing the window. The front and the back side of your mask should be facing the same direction, and the one on the inside should be facing an opposite direction. After pinning the top and the bottom of the mask, I will pin the ends just to make sure that they are equal as well. Now that that's all done, I'm going to be sewing it together from this end to the bottom, and same on the other side from this end to the bottom. Make sure that while you do this, you are pushing on the mask and holding it tightly and making sure that it is not moving in any way. It doesn't matter if it moves a little bit because it'll be on the inside, but also making sure that you are going back and forth when you start and back and forth at the bottom. Be careful that you do not go all the way around the mask on the edges where it's pinned, because if you do this, you will not be able to fold your mask through. Also, sometimes the parts where the seams are in the middle will fold and tuck under, and this will show on the other side of the mask when you flip it inside out. So just try to make sure that the seams are facing the same direction they were when they were pinned, because sometimes they may fold over if you don't push them in the right place. Now that the top and the bottom of the mask have been stitched, you are able to finally pull it through. But make sure when you do this, you pull through the material that is facing inwards to the material, because if you do the interfacing, you will rip the interfacing and it will be inside out. So as I'm showing, just pull it through. Now is the time where we're going to be stitching the ends. The only reason why we left this for the last part is because we want to put the elastic inside so it makes the mask look a little bit more neater. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that you tuck it in with your two pointer fingers, and then you'll pin one end and you'll do the other side, and then you can start putting the elastic in. I also then like to fold them over just to tell that both sides are symmetrical and even. So this is just how it should look when you have put the elastic in, and you'll be able to stitch straight across it. But also make sure that you go back to front over the top of the elastic when you do this. Now that that part's done, I find it easier to put the needle inside of the mask, lift up the foot, and turn the mask so that you can get an even line the whole way through, and I just follow along the edge of the material, and that's how I get my straight lines. Now I'm just doing the exact same with the elastic on the other side. Then you just follow the same width around the whole entire mask, making sure that you go back and forth when you start and when you finish, just to make sure the stitch doesn't come undone. I am going to show a couple photos just because I was making this mask for someone and you cannot obviously try on someone else's mask. This is just me trying on a couple masks that I have made. I love the fit of this mask. You can do it smaller, you can do it bigger. You just need to make the template a bit bigger. And yeah, pretty much thank you to my auntie for teaching me how to sew with a sewing machine and giving me this pattern and this idea for a video, because I absolutely love them. Yeah, I love these masks. You can easily wash these. We have put them in the washing machine, but as they say, you wash them in a bucket of hot water and you can reuse them the next day. So real simple, and yeah. So I forgot to film an outro. Yeah. So here it is. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and have fun making masks. I hope this helps some people.